Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. The intelligence gap in relationships. Oh man. Yes, I'm gonna get somebody hot with this one, but you know what? It's some real stuff, man. You know, one of the things I really like doing with this channel is bringing up things that people don't want to bring up in relationships, right? And you have a few other people definitely on YouTube who bring that, but I always want to get a little bit deeper into some things that, you know what, it'll step on toes, but right now with the way relationships are, we need to, you know what, the truth need to come out, because otherwise things are just going to be the same. Anyway, right, this video was inspired by a comment by one of my supporters, Sean Max, and I'm gonna read the comment that he left for me, or the request. And he said, Rom, could you one day touch on the subject of intelligence gap? Sometimes as a man you meet a woman who'd be great as a mother or a spouse, but might be a couple of IQ points below you. May also need a constant male figure guidance. Is it ever a good idea to entertain a relationship where you're clearly on the higher end of the social intelligence scale? Do these relationships ever work if both parties aren't compatible in that way? Should someone dumb themselves down in order to be with someone who'd be seemingly easier to read emotionally and more easily malleable to your lines of thinking? I've never been in a relationship with someone who's too easy to read, too easy to control. Recently, the opportunity has risen, and while I think I might have answered my own question, I'd like to get your take on it. Well, you know what? I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to read a quote. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from this book I've talked about before, promoted before, In Search of Goodpussy, Living Without Love by Don Spears. And there's a link in the description box, right? Check it out, because this dude, things we talking about now, this dude was talking about in 91. You know, back in the day when it was woman, 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 this one of the few brothers to put out something. And unfortunately, a lot of people still don't know about him. But anyway, right? I'm going to read something he said, right? And it was in his chapter. And I've talked about this issue before, incompatibility and unrealistic expectations, right? Now, this is what he said. From the beginning, we both know we were different. I was single and college educated and educated myself as well as a business person and a socialite. She was a high school graduate with no further training or skills and 3 children she was raising alone. I lived in an abstract world of ideas and concepts. She lived in a world of how am I going to pay the rent this month, buy the new bra my oldest daughter needs, and how much am I going to be able to get from the grocery store this week. Insurance was a luxury for as was spending a weekend out of town. I became fully aware of our incompatibility only after serious heart-wrenching soul searching when we separated. I knew I loved her, that I was in fact in love with her. I had loved other women before, some more than others, but this was the first time my heart had actually poured out of my body and slipped into the dirt. I had lived each and every day of my life living my love for her, but somehow that still wasn't enough. Now, check it out. That's Don Spears' take on it. You know, basically in that situation, you know, they were in different worlds. They were in different worlds. You know, she was in that more, you know, day-to-day survival thing, and he was more in that world of ideas and more intellectual. Now, I would say all of this goes beyond like the whole IQ thing, right? The whole, you know, that IQ only tests, actual IQ test a small portion of human intelligence, because I'm one of those people who subscribe to the theories of multiple intelligences. Like you could have somebody, you know, they could have a high IQ, like a 160 or something like that, but barely be able to get on a job because the jobs, require them to be social or something. And then you get somebody who have a high social intelligence, can't pronounce the word handkerchief, yet if they work as a salesman, they could make a lot of money because they know how to like deal with people socially. So, but I would say any type of, I'll say an overall intelligence thing and overall mindset thing, there's a big difference. There's a big difference how you're approaching life and everything, right? And, well, to quote my favorite character from the TV show American Gods, Mr. Nancy, who was really the African god, a Nazi. Let me tell a story. Now check it out, because when I read that quote, when I read that comment, I thought about a situation I went through, and this is something I wrote about years ago, and this was back in the day. Now I remember I had 4 women in a short period tell me I was too deep for them. Right, Rom was too deep. Cause trust me, I don't get as deep on these videos as I could be. Cause I can get into it with politics, metaphysics, organized religion, whatever, philosophy, whatever. And that's really more me. Like when that deep channel drops, y'all gonna be like, oh shit. Seriously, Gnosticism, which is one of the reasons I call BGS a master teacher, because I'm very familiar with Gnosticism. That's who I was. Now I remember this, and it was a short period of time, like a few months. I had 4 different women say I was too deep for them, and no relationship like materialized, right? Because it was like our thinkings was on one totally 2 different levels. Now, before someone, especially a woman, says, well, you shouldn't mess with those uneducated women. Hold up. 2 things. One, education just means really that you're well trained to do something. That's it. If you want to get through any type of school or something, all you need is enough money, or, you need enough money or the willingness to take out enough student loans, and then enough discipline to get through a class. You really got to work hard to flunk out in college. You really do. You got to work hard. But the thing is, these 4 women had said I was too deep. But here's the thing. It was just that our mindsets were on a different level. How we thought was on a different level. But they were far from uneducated. In fact, there could be an argument that these women were education level, they were on the same level as me. So the thing was, 2 of these women, they were attorneys. Like very good ones. Which means they had, they both had Juris Doctors. Both, and they were on obviously, to get to that level, they had to have, at least that discipline, at least enough to get through school and everything. Another one had a master's degree in education, ironically. And then the 4th one, to this day, is a practicing psychologist or psychiatrist. Yes, she's a psychiatrist. Or see something. She went through medical school. And this particular one, the one in medical school, is especially like interesting, because this one, she had a full ride through college and med school. So these educated women, highly educated, highly accomplished women, go look at a man and say he's too deep. But that intelligence gap don't have anything to do with the education. It's tough. It's tough to deal with. If you are, as a man if you really a true thinker, because I think maybe that'd be the best term to use. If you truly a thinker, if you truly somebody who's going to keep educating yourself beyond what you can learn in school, which means that you're a reader, that you're going to read stuff beyond, what the latest celebrity is doing, that you're going to get into deep things such as, metaphysics or, alternative political philosophies, because I could talk about libertarianism with anybody, or objectivism. That's my word to trip over today. But I was finding, I started hitting that with some of these educated women. It was a different thing. Now, this ain't against educated women per se, but this is just the overall thing. You can have a totally different mindset. In fact, I remember I knew this sister. I mean, man, we would have had pretty ass children. I ain't gonna lie. And she was very family orientated, extremely family orientated. All right. So I mean, she stood out physically. Like if they had like social media, Instagram or anything back in the day, she'd have had followers in the millions. And the scary thing is, it was totally natural. She was just a natural beauty. She didn't do anything hardly to fix up. I mean, but our mindsets went two totally different places. Because I actually thought about it. I actually thought about saying, man, she would make a great wife. But our mindsets were different. And eventually that would hurt me. Because I know for me personally, and this is the case for any type of man. I'm not going to say intelligence. I'm going to say a thinking type of man, a truly thinking type of man, a truly introspective type of man, a man who's actually going to think below the surface. It's hard to deal with a woman who's not really at least open to doing that. So you can think in terms of like you're going to open her up and everything and show her something new. But really, a lot of times, unless that woman is kind of there herself, she ain't going to want to deal with you. That's going to be a constant battle. For a thinking type of man, it's better to get some woman on that level. And I've met some very attractive women who were serious thinkers. So like they were actually thinking about stuff. I mean, they see you be listening to them like, dang. But one quick thing with that, watch out for some of those women who superficially read some books. All right. Watch out for those women who superficially read some books. Or if you go over their place, they'll have like some deep history book or something like that. It's because some of them are fake like that, like they did it. And I remember I met some women like that, and I was like, oh, okay. There was one book, and I had already read it like 2 or 3 times. I was like, you ever read this book? No. I was just going through her like bookcase. You actually read them? Because sometimes her thing was she just had them there, I guess, to impress somebody. But nah, that's, what? It's a very real thing. It's something that's not talked about. And I'm going to be honest, that's why you see some women with some knuckleheads. Because a lot of times there's so many women, not all. Thankfully, not all. Damn. Thankfully, jeez. Because I met some, like I said, I've met some women who, they can definitely like hang with you like in terms of just thinking and conversation and all of that and getting into deep conversation. But, there's just, you can't really make it work. I mean, y'all might have a physical attraction for each other, and that's cool. And, maybe she's open enough to listen somewhat, but if she's just on another plane, it's not going to work. You don't even really waste your time. Now, I know as men, we like, we want that physical attraction and everything, but the reality is, as a man like matures and he's thinking about stuff more, he wants to explore stuff more, he's truly a thinker, you gotta have a woman at least open to rising herself out. Like one of the things I do with women, I'll just casually ask them what they reading or where they going or anything like that, or what they've read. And I might say a date for me might be like a bookstore, a coffee shop, then a bookstore, and just walk through and see what they like looking at and see what they can get or what they can say to me that's going to make me think about something beyond relationships. See, when I get that, I'm like, yeah. And I've known some sisters like that. I know some sisters like that, women of other races like that. They cool. And you know what's funny? Usually every single one of them who are really on some deep shit, not some emotional shit, but some thought-provoking thing, can really espouse it, can really talk about it. I can't think of one I didn't know that didn't have a bunch of men around her. Just saying. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Y'all have a great day today. Peace.